Hello guys, let's restart the AMA. There were some connectivity issues and had to kind of restart this space then. So anyway, so going back to what we were talking about, we're talking about the newly launched Dune dashboard, which actually has been tracking for quite a bit. We were talking about the TVL number peaked at over 90 million, but then because of the most of the TVLs, it's in partners tokens, vesting tokens, and then there were a crash after January. We're right now it's right around 47 to 50 million. And we're talking about the total user counts. It's reaching 8,000 unique wallets, over 260,000 transactions. And what's quite significant is the total dollar volume traded. It's over 140 million. That is quite significant because we don't charge fees on trading volume and all of that. The fees with these volumes actually goes to the LPs, which is why our LPs are actually yielding pretty high APY. And then most of the transaction I think is probably from Aether and the Filecoin vaults because those two have been the largest one, been around for the longest. And yeah, so basically, I wanted to talk about the dashboard, and then later, I guess we'll post this on our site as well, and then so everyone can kind of have a look. Yeah, at the same time, we're trying to launch more products, horizontally launch more LNT, LVT vaults, and but it is actually a bit slower. For the past several months for the space, for the industry. And people tend to be, lots of the projects we know are not really that active. And of course, we are pretty actively building stuff. But at the same time, like trying to launch more LNTL VT vaults, we need partners. We need those locked tokens. So a couple of the directions we are actively pursuing. One is SAFT market unlock on chain. So basically investors foundations, they tend to there's ton of deals revolving around future SAFT tokens like unlocked tokens that early investors purchased. And it's not really a transparent market in that basically you don't get an efficient price discovery. There's no it's not an AMM, it's not a bid and ask like a secondary market. And then we're trying to do it as a VT to T trading pair. So basically, investor could come to us and then say, we have a million Ether ATH tokens, and then we want to see if people want to buy them. That's going to be, maybe unlocked in the next 6 months. It's all customizable. Like on our end, we could work with any type of structure, and that's kind of proven. Like as you could see with different LNT vaults, the structures are all different, and then so investors they have different terms. They can mint those VTs, vesting tokens as ERC20 tokens, and set up a price to start trading in the AMM, and then people can start buying those future vesting tokens at a discount using either the actual token or stable coins. There's really no difference. It's going to be at a discount because you're essentially locked. So let's say Ether is trading at I don't know, like maybe 0.5 cents right now, and then investor comes in saying that I have a million Ether to be unlocked monthly in the next 6 months. And then people can potentially buy it at let's say 60% discount. You can buy them now, and then in a month or so, you start to receive those tokens. And if the price is actually higher than 60% face value at the time of you buying, then you're making a positive return. And then for investor A, he could have gotten the token at a much lower price, and then he might as well just want to get some liquidity out of it. This is very much the same situation with the node sales, node holders who bought the nodes early and they don't necessarily want it to vest through the life cycle of the node. The only difference is that the SAF contract it's sort of legally binding instead of like the node where it's by code and you run the node and then there's a evaluation process to get your tokens. That's sort of ensured from the Aether side. Just like the SEFT, it's also ensured from the Aether side, the project side, and then they would just need to make sure that the LVT vault in this case receive the future vesting tokens. So this product is very much up and running. Like we run a few test version of it, and then for investors they actually hold the most flexibilities. Like if you mint X amount of BTs and the price you start trading at 60%, and if the price is too low, you don't want to sell. Hey, you still hold those tokens, right? So it's the sell action is still kind of upon you. And it also gives the possibility of market making in the AMM pool, because you have both sides, the VT side and the T side or the stable side, and be able to provide liquidity on both sides and then do some market making. So pretty interesting product, and I think it's just like when we launched the Aether product. Pretty soon after, some power users started to notice, and then they started to do arbitrage with the NFT markets. This is just the same, and except that you're gonna try to do some arbitrage on the where the token has liquidity, either on CX or on some other dexes. So we envision this to be quite a big total addressable market, because most of the projects launched in the past 2-3 years, they are being vested. There's a large amount of that to be gradually going through the vesting. So currently locked. And then investors do want to exit, and then people do want to buy future tokens at a discount, and even the foundations, they can use this as a new form of way to do fundraising, which means they could take some of the locked token and then launch an LVT vault with us and then sell them at a discount to get some like liquidity, especially in the bear market. So yeah, so we're actively looking for projects to partner with. If you know any project teams, or if you are part of any project teams, we're more than happy to work with you. The products has been so far bulletproof for more than 8 months now. We have I think 6-7 different vaults across like 5 different chains. So yeah, definitely reach out to us. We do get DMs quite a bit on our end. Yeah, hoping to see some of the meaningful collabs. Some other stuff we're trying to like explore. It's TradFi RWA for LBT. So specifically, there's it's not really RWA in the sense that it's like gold or silver or anything, but it's really a pretty niche asset or contract per se. It's with venture funds, there's GP and LPs, and then LPs they essentially they invest in the fund, and they're investors. They're stakeholders of the fund as LPs. Their stake it's being managed by the GP, either invested on TradFi like Web2 companies or invested in tokens, right? So the point is the LP stake, those investments are inherently illiquid because VCs tend to run a cycle much longer than our Web3 norm, and sometimes it's 5 years and then 10 years, even longer for IPO or being purchased, being merged for these illiquid private market investments. So it's highly risky. However, the LPs putting the money into those funds, they need to have liquidities, especially when the business cycle, the market cycle turns downwards. They probably have hundreds of thousands of dollars in those investments, and that they can't really do anything with it. So we've seen TradFi startups, fintech startups, specifically one called Turbine Finance. They've done something really cool, which is launching a lending vehicle facility or debt facility, essentially allowing the LPs to borrow against their VC fund stakes. So let's say they put a 300K in, and the GP reports that right now it's worth 1 million. They might be able to borrow with a loan to asset value at 80%. They be able to get 800,000 out of those 1 million market value stakes as liquidities, and then they of course they pay an APY to the borrower, to the lenders. So for Turbine, they create this essentially a platform where GPs can report, they can like mark to market the LPs stakes, and then LPs can borrow from a series of collaborating banks. So very interesting product, but it does pose some challenges if it's just purely TradFi. And I think with crypto and DeFi, making everything on chain, there's some inherent advantages. For one, the depending on what the GP invests in, it's the price, mark to market price can be very much hard to gauge. However, if let's say if it's a Web2 company's evaluation, it's going to be really hard because it does not necessarily translate to future exit value. And if banks loan those out at a pretty really high valuation, then it runs at the risk of under collateralization for those debt, um, which in our case, if it's actually crypto investments, it's much easier. So now we're in the space where VCs, crypto VCs, they hold a ton of what is going to be very similar to our use case, which is vesting tokens. And those vesting tokens, they have a price, market price on centralized exchanges on CMC. We can actually pull those price and then correctly value their stakes because those are just future vesting tokens. With that said, and then an on-chain debt facilities for those LPs becomes possible because they know how much they actually own, even though it's future price. And then we can actually create a market where they can price in their future price VT against their actual token. And if that's all said and done, then an Aave market, a lending market for LPs for this in the crypto venture space becomes possible. And this is a really interesting product because if you ask any crypto VCs, the general partners, um, it's very common to get asked by LPs for liquidities, for exits, things along those lines that are beyond the control of the general partners. However, if you can have that market there and then correctly assess risks and the collateralization ratio, then the GPs can just send the LPs for an Aave market for borrowing, and everything becomes possible. At the same time, you also create a market where people can buy and sell those stakes in these VCs as VTs. So very much, I really like this sort of this whole framework of OVT because it does apply to different things, right? Like for this specifically, it's sort of in the space of real world assets because even though the investments are in crypto or other Web2 investments, but it's really just a real world contracts between the GPs and LPs. And we're essentially like if we launch this product, we're making those contract fungible tokens on the blockchain with no like broker needed to do this, and then it's all trustless. And then if Aave can support this market, then again it's all going to be anyone can participate on either end. So it's just a great sort of infrastructure to let everything start flowing. Yeah, so yeah, I thought might use today to kind of share some of the product insights. Yeah, pretty much that's all I want to cover. Don't really want it to run everything too long, but I think we do wanted to post the dashboard on our across our socials so that users like you can start tracking with us and making some suggestions. I think our DAU daily active users is actually pretty high, like over 1,000, maybe even 1,500 for the past 2 months. And the monthly average user is about the same. So pretty definitely like there are some of you guys that we haven't talked to has been trading. So yeah, so we do monitor everything on our end. Housekeeping stuff, I guess, kind of just to go over. The put option has been running pretty smoothly. We have observed no issue across all the vaults, and the node running has been really good with node ops. There's been no issue on the Aether nodes or the repo nodes. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this week. We do have some upcoming travels. That's actually why I'm doing this Wednesday this week because I'm traveling tomorrow. And then the plan is for the team to some of the team to be at ETH cons, ETHCC, and then afterwards there's some other conferences across Asia. I think it's a good time for if you're in the industry for this long, it's definitely a good time to go out and talk to projects, talk to other like-minded people because right now it's a bit quiet, so there's less noise. It's a good time to make some meaningful connections. And that's our goal. We're trying to find more potential partners to grow together. So that's pretty much it from me. I'm going to end the AMA now, and then if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us. Yeah, that's all for today. Thanks.